another game today I thought was an outstanding game, actually, and there was some quality strikes there and some quality play. Nottingham Forest 2, Everton 2 is how it finished in one of many relegation clashes for me. Still, the situation is with Crystal Palace on 27, Wolves on 27, Forest now with that point on 26, Leicester on 24, West Ham 23, Leeds 22, and with Everton now also on 22, but they don't have as good a goal difference as Leeds, so they're still in the bottom three. It finished 2 apiece there this afternoon, and let's talk much more about the game now with Des Oldham, who is a blogger and Nottingham Forest fan, of course. Delighted to say good evening to you, Des.
Good evening, Mark.
And to Dave Johnson as well, Everton fan from Falcon Blues TV too. Dave, good to talk to you tonight.
Evening, Mark. Thanks for having us on, mate.
No, it's great to have both of you on tonight. Des, I'll come to you first, and please, chip in with each other tonight if you'd like to. Johnson's a fine young man and a fine young player and a great finisher, and he showed for me a real bit of character at home today. It's never going to be easy against any Sean Dyche side, and an Everton fans now beginning to feel their way under him, and to go behind twice the way you did, and to come back and only get it. You'll be disappointed you didn't get 3 at home, but that shows how Forest have really changed this season around for me.
Absolutely, Mark. I think we've come on leaps and bounds over as the season progresses. Earlier in the season, going down 1-0, even at home, we was in for a long afternoon. It felt like that at times today. It felt like it wasn't going to happen. But you talk about the quality of Johnson and how he's maturing as a player as well. He's come on leaps and bounds. He took a little bit of stick, a little bit of time to adjust to the Premier League. But you can see by the 2 finishes that there was absolute quality, and it really helps to have somebody like that at the top end of the pitch. We're not going to create lots and lots of chances week in, week out, and when we go away from home, it's really tough. But at home, we have to sort of pick off whatever we can get. And today, I think we proved that. We got the point. We'd have liked to have got 3 points, of course, just as Everton would, but with Morgan Gibbs-White, with Johnson, you've always got a bit of a chance of taking something out of any given game.
Important that as well, and you could see from the reaction of Sean Dyche at the end. Okay, you twice lost the lead, but a point away against Forest in good form at home was terrific, I think, for Everton today.
Definitely. I even think at the start, if you'd have said, given Everton's poor away form, you'll get a point at City ground, I'd have probably snapped your hand off. I think it's just down to Everton's bad luck, poor defensive mistakes, which I continually talk about all the time when I get asked about it. Everton's poor decision making, are we running out of steam, that kind of stuff, and just an inability to hold on to a lead at the moment is just hindering us. And I think, as Dyche has probably said, he is probably happy with the point. He's probably also dismayed that we didn't get another penalty for the foul on Coleman and everything else. But that's hopefully these kinds of things will leave themselves out as the season goes on. But I think just for Everton, we're working our way and trying to find out how to work with Sean Dyche. It's still going to take that time, but today I'm happy to just come away with a point, but really disappointed with 2 points dropped. And like you said, they probably Forest are feeling the same.
I watched parts of the game today. Wasn't able to watch all of it, but just from the Everton point of view, interesting to see how some are now beginning to believe in themselves again because they can believe in Sean Dyche. And I thought Tom Davies was one of those a little bit today.
It was only a brief cameo with Tom, and I don't expect a lot from him, but I think what you see is what you get with Tom Davies. He does come under a fair bit of stick from the fans at the moment, I think, just because he's not really progressed into the player that we wanted him to be and that we expected him to be. I think he's got a long way to go to get back in the side as a regular, but time will tell. But Tom, if I'm being entirely honest, I probably don't see him being at Everton at the end of the season.
Oh, okay. I just felt when he came, he just for me had more energy than I have seen. I mean, he's one of those players that really has dropped away over the past 3 seasons extraordinarily.
I think just the whole league is just above him. He's just one of those players. You'll see it. You don't. It's not just Tom Davies. You see that in players in right across the whole of the division. They'll start off brightly and just fade and just become those players who are just there at your club for forever and a day. And it's only until the contract runs out that they eventually leave the club. But I don't see Tom being there much longer. I think he'll be gone at the end of the season. Like I said, he does get a bit of stick, but he's not progressed to the player that we wanted him to be, I don't think.
And just one more before come back to the other side. I think Damion Gray scored your first goal today again. Happy that he got the opportunity to start today?
I think he's needed to. I think, we've had Neil Maupay in, Ellis Sims, and it just hasn't worked for us. We look at the Villa game last week, the number of times we peppered their box with crosses, with chances to score, and no one was on the end of it. We didn't quite do the same today, but we were given the opportunity that, if that doesn't happen, then we've got someone with pace who can finish and can, cause more problems to defenders than Maupay and Sims have since they've been trusted up front.
Such is the state of this bottom of the league as well, with 9 clubs. I mean, there are 9 of you. I mean, the great thing is, of course, that you've all still got a chance. You have to believe, and there's enough time to turn it round. But Des, from that point of view as well, does anybody able to put their sort of hand on exactly why it is you're playing some more than decent stuff at home these days, but away from home it just isn't happening?
The answer is probably no. Nobody can really put the finger on it. I think it's them. For me personally, I was having a conversation today about when we played Everton right at the start of the season, and we was winning with a couple of minutes to go and gave away a soft goal. And it seems from that moment that confidence has dropped a little bit. When we lose that first goal away from home, the Reds go down. You've seen it at West Ham last week. We was in the game for a very long time. It probably looked like it was going to be 0-0. And then all of a sudden West Ham scored on 70 minutes and it's 4-0 in the blink of an eye. And it tends to be a bit like that with Forest. I think Steve Cooper's trying to get the team believing in themselves a little bit more. He's trying to get them on the front foot a little bit more. But it's that sort of belief and confidence, especially when they go down. I think I spoke to you earlier in the season, Mark, and I remember about a game at Manchester United. It was a league game, and we scored a goal before half time, and the whole thing lifted, and then it was chalked off for VAR. And I think we need that kind of moment where we perhaps get back into a big game like that, which makes us then believe and just take something. We've got Tottenham away next week. It's quite worrying in many ways, but of course they're not in great form at the moment either.
No, but with all of that in mind, what you want really is just anything. So even if it's a fluke of a goal or something, but you hang on again away from home, because you haven't been beaten at home since September. So you want to continue that, but that will be the feeling when you get into the intensity of the end of the season here. If you start dropping more points at home and you can't get anything on the road, it could change around very quickly.
I think, to be honest, when you look at the home and the away form, a lot of it is what happens at the City Ground. That raucous atmosphere. It's been amazing this season. Everybody's pulling in one direction, it feels. And when we go away from home, I think a little bit of the lack of quality kind of shows. I think that's there at times at home, but they dig deep, they fight, the crowd get on side. The Man City game showed that. We was 1-0 down, and we could have been 6-0 down in all reality. We grew into the game as it went on. The crowd really got behind the team, and all of a sudden it feels like siege mentality. And I think a lot of games have been like that. It's tough in the Premier League. We're probably a team that were expected to finish in the bottom 3, if not bottom. And somehow I think Steve Cooper's doing such a job, is getting whatever he can. And the biggest advantage he can draw upon is that home form, the crowd, and what happens at the City Ground, the dynamics of the pitch. Brennan Johnson getting a few more chances, all those little things are just adding up for us right now.
Probably the best thing to say to you is that Everton play Brentford at home next weekend, and I hope there's some. You get plenty of words in the Liverpool Echo and everything tomorrow after what happened down the road at and across Stanley Park today against Manchester United for Liverpool.
Yeah, well, I'm not even going to talk about them. I don't need to.
I don't want you to talk about them, but what I'm saying,
but Brentford next week. It's similar to what Des is saying. The home form is what is ultimately going to keep Everton running.
Yeah.
We've got what for me is a good point today, because our away form has been absolutely atrocious. So to come away with a point today gives us that extra little bit of a springboard for next week against Brentford. The crowd of Goodison, as Des has just said, the same as the City ground, has been raucous, it's been loud, they've backed the players, they've been behind the team, and that's similar to what it's been like at Goodison. Everything else except with it being the exception, of course, but the fans are behind the team. So we'll give, and even you look at the Arsenal game. We were exceptional against Arsenal. You look at Villa, we played really well. We just gifted them 2 stupid goals. You look at Arsenal away midweek, we played really, really well for the 45 minutes. A striker there changes the game and just changes the dynamic of this Everton side completely. So it's in our own hands to actually go out there and do something about it now. As you just touched there, Damion Gray is playing a bit better and allowed to play up front. If we go into that same mentality the way we did in that first half against Forest today, against Arsenal we did last week, then there's no reason why we can't get something at Brentford. Brentford are a great side, but I think at Goodison we're a different animal.
Were you surprised Conor Cody wasn't involved?
No, I think he's having to look at a different side at the moment. I know Conor's probably been the slight weakness within that back four, so to give Michael Keane another go. Yeah. Set up the goal for Doucouré today, yeah. But again, it's the decision making of the defence, and Keane is part of that defence. Where Brendan Johnson scored an absolutely superb goal today for the second. So you've got to look at it and go, well, what were you doing defensively? So now has he got to look at, okay, well maybe Yerry Mina should step in for me and play alongside Tarkowski, or does he continue his faith in someone he knows in Keane and Tarkowski?
And one more for you, finally on that. I think with Everton now having got a man, I think who's a plain speaking man, they'll understand on the training ground exactly what he wants. I think it was, and you've got that out of the way. Still with a good run in here to come, plenty of games to really get yourself out of the trouble that you're in at the moment. I think that's important as well, and I've liked Sean Dyche for that reason, that there's no nonsense with him, and he's pretty honest. He knows exactly what he wants, and he'll get the players playing, and he will have probably sat them down and said, look, this is Everton Football Club, come on.
Yeah, and I think I tried to say it when Lampard was in charge. It almost seemed like too nice with the players, but sometimes players just need an absolute rocket up them sometimes to say, listen, get your act together and get this. You're in danger of your Premier League status here, not just for the club, but for your actual footballing career. Do you want this tarnishing your career that you were in this side that went down, to send down Everton? That's the kind of message I should be sending, or we should be sending to the players. Do you want to take Everton down, really? Yeah. It's the same with Des, I'm sure, he's saying, do you want to take Nottingham Forest back down to the Championship? Yeah. No, you don't. No. We're two really big sides who shouldn't be where we are, really.
And I think that Nottingham Forest, on the run that you have been on as well, Des, is still in your hands, still with that little bit of buffer. This is the time, I think, really now as well. We've got the break coming up. Last game before the break, so important.
It absolutely is. If I can just say on that last point, Sean Dyche has actually watched a lot of Forest this season.
We've got a lot of the back staff were Forest as well, weren't they?
Yeah, so they had a little bit of an advantage today, in the fact he's been watching us play all season when he's had a game off or wherever he's been. So I thought that was interesting. I was trying to look at the dynamics from the stand of what was going off. But yeah, you talk about going into the break. Forest have got that game against Tottenham, and then they've got a couple of more what look like winnable games on paper. So it'd be amazing to get something going into a break, a tough game where we probably don't expect to get anything. So if we could take something out of that, and not all we're looking at the moment, like today, felt like a massive opportunity to put distance between ourselves, the bottom two, and Everton. Teams like Everton, it felt like that. If we can put that 6-point gap, because we know how important 3 points is in the Premier League, how big it is at times. You don't quite understand until you've got them on the board at the gap it closes. So I think if we can get anything from Spurs and then we come back, I think we play Leeds, Aston Villa. You know, those games on paper are winnable, and I think Forest can take confidence, you know, from the way they battled hard today, from the way Brennan Johnson and Morgan Gibbs White link up, and we're starting to we're getting there. That's what it feels like with Forest. It feels like we're really getting there, and as long as we can maintain that small gap, I think going into the final few weeks of the season, I think we'll be absolutely fine.
Brilliant. Des Oldham, thank you very much. Dave Johnson, as always, pleasure for both of you with your expertise here on the Sunday Night Club. Thank you very much indeed.